Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for doing business with the United States Marine Corps. I'm your host, Ed James, BidExec's Vice President of Franchisee Growth and Relations. I'm honored to have, as far as a guest, Chris Rabasi. We're going to go over a couple of the house cleaning duties right now. So one, as folks continue to join in on the webinar, please utilize the chat box for networking and, put your information in there, whether it's company, how to get in contact with each other, things of that nature. For your questions, if you would please put those within the Q&A box. And at the end of the webinar, we're going to go back and answer any Q&A questions that you may have. Hopefully, those of you that submitted questions prior to the webinar, we have reached back out to you to answer those questions. If we have not, we will definitely try to get those questions answered today. So again, thank you for joining us today for doing business with the United States Marine Corps. So we're going to get started here. Again, our guest speaker is Chris Rabasi. And when it comes to Chris, let me get this up. When it comes to Chris, he has been the small business professional for the Marine Corps Installation East since October 2022. His responsibilities include ensuring compliance with all applicable small business regulations, and assisting small businesses as to how to be eligible and competitive for Department of Defense contracts. Prior to October of 2022, he was a contracting officer and contract specialist, both as a civilian and active duty Marine. He served for 26 years in the Marine Corps from 1989 to 2015 in the fields of supply, logistics, and contracting. Chris, again, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to, again, welcome you to doing this educational and informational webinar to help those businesses out there grow their business, especially in the government space. I know that we're going to go over a variety of different topics, but at this time, I want to hand over the mic to you, sir, and introduce yourself, and also as far as what the things that we're going to be going over today as far as with the Marine Corps.
Thank you, Ed. Can you hear me, Ed?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ed, I appreciate the introduction. Again, small business advisor for Marine Corps Installations East. I know we're going to hit on three topics and what capabilities is the Marine Corps looking for from companies, and I'm going to talk from fundamental to overall what the Marine Corps is looking for, and there's many different ways the Marine Corps buys things. We'll talk about that. Navigating the acquisition process, not just who buys things and who to sell to, but who has the contract authority to buy things. And you'll understand what I'm talking about once we get deeper into the brief. And then how to get introduced with program managers. Well, I'm not a program manager, but the small business professionals within the not only the Marine Corps, but across the Department of Defense, we're your best conduits to get to those program managers and talk to them. So that's what we'll be discussing here. Got about 100 slides. I'm just kidding. We only have about 6 slides. You've already seen my intro, so I'm going to get past that. But I wanted to talk about this slide real quick, because as businesses, you see your goals over there. You want to know regulations. You want to understand the contracting process. You want to submit competitive proposals, because ultimately you want to win contractors. Well, in the middle there, you see all those challenges you're up against. Just as a business, I mean, I tell this to every business I talk to, especially the new ones. If you don't understand your business on the commercial side, if you don't understand tax code, OSHA, HR, all of the different regulations that apply to your business in the commercial world, you're going to have a big challenge in the DoD world, because not only that all those things apply, but then you have the federal acquisition regulations, the defense federal acquisition regulations. There's over 28 different sub regulations to the federal acquisition regulations you have to know about. But what I am going to tell you is, and that looks pretty challenging, but you do have a great support network out there. I'm one part of that support network. You can see the other ones there. Hey, your local chambers of commerce, great resources. I know I'm personally involved in 3 of the chambers of commerce that surround Camp Lejeune, Cherry Point, New River. They're a great resource. In fact, the Jacksonville Onslow Chamber of Commerce here has had a good series of doing business with government, presenting your business to the government type of seminars. Your local community colleges. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. Obviously, I live here in North Carolina, so I know our resources very well. The community colleges, again, are a great resource for understanding how to do business with the Department of Defense. Small Business Administration. They have a fantastic series of classes out there, how to plan, grow, develop, and sustain your business as well, too. Government Contract Assistance Program. That's what we call them in North Carolina. Everywhere else in the United States, they're called Apex Accelerators, or formerly known as Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. Again, great resource helping you understand the systems that you need to register in order to be eligible for Department of Defense contracts. And I'll drive home being eligible and competitive several times as we're talking through the brief here. And then if you give them enough time, and if your business is truly ready, those Apex Accelerators, GCAPs, will even help review proposals for you to make sure you're hitting all the tasks, all the qualifications that are required in a given contract. Fairly unique to North Carolina, I think very unique to North Carolina. We have North Carolina Military Business Center. They're part of North Carolina state government. Their job is to help grow business in North Carolina. Now, does that mean we just care about North Carolina businesses? Absolutely not. I mean, the registrants, everybody that registered for this brief, I'm not looking to see how many people have actually logged in, but the 92 or so businesses that registered for this event, that represents 23 different states. And then out of those 23 states, 18 of those businesses came from states like Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina that affect Marine Corps installations east. So it's not just about North Carolina. Obviously, we write contracts for businesses all over the country. But knowing those resources are available to you, the bottom line is, with that support network, you have a lot of businesses a lot of agencies out there that are designed to help you be eligible and competitive for Department of Defense contracts. I'm going to pause real quick for questions, because I know I railed that off real quick, and I kind of want to take this in chunks. So are there any questions at this time?
Chris, there is no questions at this time on this part of the deck outside of hold on. Certifications. What's the importance of these certifications, if you would elaborate on that?
They are critical. So one thing you'll notice, any of you that may see me in LinkedIn or just see things I post, or if you contacted me as a business, I don't say win government contracts, because there are 2 key components to winning a Department of Defense contract. Number 1 is being eligible. Those certifications are critical. What am I talking about here? The system for award management is the system that your business has to go in and register for. That is the number 1 system that any business has to be registered in if you want to do Department of Defense contract. If you're not registered in SAM and you don't have a current SAM registration, we cannot award a contract. We are not supposed to award a contract to you. Now, I'm sure somebody out there, they have a family member, a friend. Oh no, I got a contract with SAM registration. Okay. There are very, very few exceptions to that. So number one, system for award management. That is all businesses, large, a socioeconomic category, you must be registered in the system for award management. The other one is for woman-owned small businesses of a category, and there's multiple categories of woman-owned small businesses. But if you are a woman-owned small business, you must be registered with the Small Business Administration. There's a certification application that has to happen. I'll give you a perfect example. We just did a woman-owned small business set aside. I forgot what the requirement was for. We got 3 responses. One wasn't even a woman-owned small business, so obviously they read the solicitation. But the other 2 thought they were properly certified, but they were not. Because when we went on the small business dynamic search in their certification application. So if you're a woman-owned small business of any category and you have not put in your certification application with the Small Business Administration, you're going to be ineligible for Department of Defense contracts as well. That is going to most likely apply to veteran-owned and service-disabled-owned businesses as well too. There's guidance out there on the Small Business Administration website for that. So if you are a veteran-owned or service-disabled veteran-owned small business, you need to go out to the Small Business Administration www.sba.gov website in order to understand that certification process as well. So in summary, to be eligible, you must be registered in the system for award management, all business sizes, types. And if you're a woman-owned small business, you must be certified in the Small Business Dynamic Searching as well too. Not a standing requirement, but it really is wide area workflow. Wide area workflow is how you will invoice the government. If you have your own invoicing system, I'm sure you do, that's wonderful. You must be registered in wide area workflow in order to get paid on a Department of Defense contract. So I'm saying, Chris Rapazzi, am saying, hey, I like to get paid for my work. So I'm going to make sure I'm registered in wide area workflow as well too. So last time I'll summarize this: system for award management, small business dynamic search engine if you're a woman-owned small business, and then wide area workflow so you can get paid. Ed, does that answer the question out there?
Yes, that satisfies that question. And we can move forward with the next slide.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, the structure of Marine Corps Installations East. Okay, here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, we have Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune. Up in Havelock, North Carolina, about 40 minutes northeast of us, is Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. And then back here in Jacksonville, across the river, we have Marine Corps Air Station New River. Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point is what we call our fixed wing platforms up there. And there's also what's called the Fleet Readiness Center. The Fleet Readiness Center does depot level maintenance on military aircraft for the Marine Corps, and they're starting to do it for other services as well too. Lots of very specialized equipment, test equipment, fabrication equipment. A depot level facility basically takes an aircraft down to its frame and rebuilds it. So that's a significant maintenance requirement. And then on the rotary and tilt rotary wing side of things, that's where all our helicopters and Ospreys are at over at Marine Corps Air Station New River. And then of course, Marine Corps Camp Lejeune, that's 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, 2nd Marine Logistics Group, and 2nd Marine Division. In those, some contract requirements, but when you're looking at these as an installation, and I'm speaking as an installation person, you want to look at these installations, and I'll talk to the other bases here in a moment. You want to look at them like small cities or college campuses. We're no different than our requirements for these bases are really no different than you would see on a major college campus or on any small town. I mean, they're essentially the same. We have sanitation requirements, we have infrastructure requirements, we have general supplies and services. Remember when we started this conversation, I talked about authorities. I'll get into who actually has the authority to buy some of those services I talked about. Okay, back to the installation. Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, South Carolina. That is another fixed wing Marine Corps Air Station. Marine Corps Logistics Base, Albany, Georgia, is depot level maintenance for ground vehicles. So very similar to Cherry Point as far as technology goes, lots of high-speed fabrication, test equipment, 3D printing. They do a lot of depot level maintenance down there at Marine Corps Logistics Base Albany. Lots of IT requirements as well too for our logistics system. And then finally, Blount Island Command in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where the Maritime Prepositioning Force ship operations come out. Most of their requirements are done by either Naval Sea Systems Command, NAVSEA, or Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command, NAVFAC, for construction requirements. Any quick questions on the installations? Okay, like I talked about, wide range of services, no different than any college campus or any city. The key is who has the authority to actually contract for things like, and a lot of, when I'm talking today, I'm going to be talking as both a contracting officer and a small business professional. So a contracting officer, in theory, anybody can buy anything if you're a properly trained contracting officer. The key is, what is your warrant give you the authority, and what command you are working for? That's going to drive what you can buy. Let me say that in English. So, for example, perfect example, I'm sure there's construction companies here in this webinar right now. I get an email or a phone call from a construction company almost on a daily basis. The Marine Corps does not have the contract authority to do construction contract. That is done through Naval Facilities Engineering and Systems Command, NAVFAC. NAVFAC is responsible for all construction requirements, building grounds, and a variety of other subcategories for the Navy and the Marine Corps. So if you're a construction company out there, if you're part of the trades, plumbing, HVAC, roads, anything that remotely resembles construction, you need to find the small business professional at NAVFAC. Now, if you contact me, of course I'm going to talk to you, but then I'm going to give you the contact information for the folks at NAVFAC to help you with that. If you're a company that deals in end items, whether they be a weapon, whether they be a vehicle, those are all done through the Systems Command. So I know the Small Business Professional Marine Corps Systems Command. I would refer you to them as well too. But then, as you can see here, I mean, these are the main services that are procured by installation and the main supplies. Now, that is nowhere near everything. But when I put that together, I was looking at what we were buying the most greatest percentage of. That's where we came. Any questions on that? Okay, go ahead and move forward. Okay. If I say this 1,000 times,
I'm sorry, Chris. Let me get it back in here. Sure. I have a couple of questions. I have a question from Erica Hawkins. Who would I contact for leadership development training? So on that question, Erica, I'm going to refer that back over to our side of the house, and a little later within the webinar, I'm going to have Kyle Adams come on and discuss as far as bid execs and proposal helper. Another question I have on here, what about administrative management services? Now, I believe that's from Annette Rich. I believe that is more along the lines of what about administrative management services? That's asking as far as is that part. Okay. She's asking who would I need to contact for administrative management services?
So for administrative management services, or really for a opportunity, back to the system for award management, that is going to be the primary government point of entry where you're actually going to see solicitations posted. But if you're talking who you contact directly, you're welcome to contact me, provide me with a capability statement, and I can look at our open solicitations and see if we have a requirement out there. Or you can also, all the services are required to, all the services, not just the Navy and Marine Corps, all the services are required to post long-range forecasts on their small business portals. So if you go out there, and the services are doing a very good job from what I'm seeing, you can go out there and see who has current professional and administrative service contracts and when they're forecasted to come up for recompete or when proposals come out on that. Does that answer the question on that?
Yes. Now I also have another question, which is about the from a Jonathan Cook. And Jonathan, if you would please use the Q&A box for questions. It's about his company installs fiber optics network cabling, and is that mainly just for NAVFAC or Marine Corps IT?
So I hate to say it depends, but the scope of the requirements going to drive that. So and to make it clear, so if you're installing fiber optic along a highway or into a new construction or a building, things of that nature, it's most likely going to be NAVFAC. If we're doing wiring in an existing building, it may come over to this office to support, but I'm gonna push the safe button and say primarily NAVFAC for that, because fiber optic installation may require some other construction related action to happen. So I would say NAVFAC.
All right, thank you, sir. And you can proceed with the slide deck, please.
Great. Okay, again, if I say it 1,000 times, it's 1,000 times too little. Two fundamental things, and this goes to the first talking point for this webinar, which is what capabilities what capabilities is the Marine Corps looking for from companies? At the most basic level, we need companies that are eligible and competitive for Department of Defense contracts. Being eligible, beat to death, system for award management. If you're a woman-owned, soon to be policy coming up. It's actually for veteran-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned, this year is the grace year. But as of 1 January of 2024, you'll also have to be certified with the SBA as well too. So making sure system for award management, register with the SBA, and then make sure you register in wide area workflows so you can get paid when you do receive a contract award and you perform well. And then make sure you present your business effective. I will say this, and if there's some fiscal law attorneys, I'm going to give them a heart attack when I say this, but when you're presenting your business to the government, it's not a sales call, it's a job interview. There's difference. And the reason why there's a difference is the government generates its requirements, and the government determines what it needs and doesn't need. So when you're presenting to the business, to the government, what we want to see when we're doing market research is we want to see, and I'm speaking as a contract specialist now, is we want to see consistency between your website, your capability statement, your small business dynamic search profile. I don't know if Ed kind of went out there and told people that I was going to be doing this, but I went and looked at just about every business that registered for this event. And I went and looked at their small business dynamic search profile. And I'll be honest, I was impressed, because most of the time what I see, why is a small business dynamic search profile important? That's where contract specialists are going out and doing their market research. That's where they're going out to find eligible businesses to be able to support Department of Defense contracts. So a lot of times when I go out and look, or when they go out and look, the contract specialists, they see blank business descriptions, or they see narratives like, our business was founded in 1887 and it's done all this work, but it tells nothing about what that business actually does. What we need to see in that dynamic search profile is exactly what your business does. You can save the company history and all the other sales type pitches for your website or something else. But in the dynamic search profile, if you're a landscaping company, we want to say that you do landscaping for banks and schools and things like that. If you're an IT company, we want to know that you do audio visual, or you do hardware and software support. We want to see specifically what your business does. And then event booth, and this ties to number 3 as well too, how you get introduced with program managers. There's all kinds of in-person events. I mentioned North Carolina Military Business Center. There's multiple events. We had a textile summit in Raleigh, North Carolina last week. Next week up in Chapel Hill, there's a biomedical summit. Those summits are great, because those are actually where the North Carolina Military Business Center brings out senior leaders. I'm talking generals and admirals that apply to that given commodity, textile, medical, construction, whatever. And there's actual dialogue between industry and government at those events to understand requirements, challenges businesses have. Anyway, there's also a booth portion of that. How you present your booth, how you set up your booth to the government. Those booth events aren't cheap. And I've seen it at booth events. In fact, the last one I was at, I walked up to a table to talk to the business, and the guy he was texting on his phone, which I get it. If you're one deep, you got work too. But kind of gave me a dirty look when I walked up to his table to talk to him about his business. Like, okay, your company probably spent, $1,000+ to get your booth and lodging and travel and everything. Present your business in a professional manner to the government as well too. So that's what we're talking about with being eligible. Any questions on that before I talk about being competitive?
No questions on that part, Chris.
Okay. So now being competitive. So we have government points of entry. I get calls from businesses all the time. How do we get on your approved vendor list, which we don't have per se. Our approved vendor list is your SAM registration. So when you ultimately, you got to find the solicitations, and those solicitations are posted in government points of entry. Our office, Marine Corps Installation East Regional Contracting Office, and most contracting offices use either the System for Award Management, GSA buy if you're on GSA schedule, or NASA Soup if you're an IT vendor. And you're registered with NASA Soup as well too. So you got to monitor those government points of entry in order to find those solicitations. And not only the solicitations, but we have sources sought, which a sources sought is where the government has a performance work statement. It knows what it needs. The government knows what it needs. And we're just trying to determine, hey, are we what small business category are we going to go to? Or are we going to go other than small, because industry can't, small businesses can't support what we need. So responding to sources sought is very important, and responding to requests for information. Now, requests for information, that's where the government really has no idea what it wants, or it's got a new requirement and we're trying to see what the vendor base even looks like, if industry can even support a requirement. So that's very important. I already talked about look at it more as a job interview when you're talking to the government advice to sales call. I've talked about the resources that are available to y'all. Propose on what you can perform on. Yeah, this is not, hey, propose on as much as you can, see what sticks, and go from there. Number one, proposal writing is not free. I know that. It's not free in time. It's not free in money. It takes a lot to write a proposal in response to a solicitation. So you don't want to just be writing proposals for the sake of writing proposals. You want to write on what you know you can perform on, because the other part of getting the contract is you got to be able to perform on, and you don't want to get a bad past performance rating once that contract's over. So you want to make sure that you're proposing in a quality lens, not a quantity lens. Last thing, and I think Ed came off mic, so you may have a question for me, but make sure you understand the whole solicitation. Now, I know you all just laughed at me because some solicitations could be, 50, 60, 100, 150 pages. I mean, of course, everything there is important. Contract clauses, provisions, all that. Those are all very important, but you really need to understand that to the extent you can do it, the worst thing you can do is just respond to a proposal and say, oh yeah, we could do the work. Most instructors instructions for offers and solicitations will tell you not to do that anyway. But you want to make sure you can really explain how your business can meet a requirement. So, okay.
Okay, Chris, if I.
Oops. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Got a couple of questions here. One of those questions is, would the Marine Corps be willing or open to working with a small business looking their first contract where the CEO professional has 20 plus years of experience? Now, on that question, what is your thought process behind that? Because it's a little bit of a mixed question.
So just to break it down, the Marine Corps, and as long as your business is eligible, and I'm not going to, I'll repeat them again, as long as you're registered in the system for award management, you got your proper business, small business certifications if you're a small business. I mean, the Marine Corps is always looking for businesses because we like competition. And we like competition because competition on the contracting side of things makes it much easier to determine, fair and reasonable pricing. And we want competition amongst businesses because generally speaking, the government's going to get a better price. So the government's always open to it. The question is, can your company meet the requirement? It's all requirement driven. I remember seeing that question previously when I was going through all the businesses that I registered. I cannot remember that specific business, but if you see a solicitation out there and you think you can meet the requirement, then absolutely propose on it. Now, I think I know what the challenge is. The challenge is a lot of times Well, now, not a lot of times, all the time, the government's looking for past performance. So if you're a brand new company, and I know I need to go back and look and see, because I know there've been some flexibilities added to determining what past performance is, but I get that. If you're a brand new company that started and never did business with the Department of Defense, how are you going to have past performance and experience? My answer to that is look for teaming opportunities with other businesses. You can still go out there and look and see, because small businesses can team with other small businesses. Large businesses can team with small businesses. So if you're a brand new company and you're trying to get experience, look for those teaming opportunities. Completely answers the question, but that's how I would answer that.
Okay, awesome. The next question that I would like to address here is yes to the question as far as will this be provided to those that are participating in today's webinar. We will have this as far as on our YouTube channel. You can just go to BitExecs on YouTube and you can rewatch this webinar, and we will also be sending as far as this slide deck along with the actual video itself, access to the video, to responding to your input as far as registration for the webinar. So you will be receiving those shortly after the webinar. Okay, Chris, you can go forward.
Okay. As far as the slide deck goes, that's it.
That's it. Okay. Well, now that's great. So if we could at this time, Chris, I would like to have Kyle Adams unmute. Kyle is a part of the BitExecs Proposal Helper team, and and I would like for him to just introduce as far as what we do here at Proposal Helper and BitExecs, and how we are going to continue to do these educational and learning webinars for those businesses out there that are looking to do business with the United States Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Kyle, if you would.
And thank you, Ed, and thank you, Chris. And Ed, if you would drop my contact and our contact information in the chat box there, my email, contact information, and then both of our websites there. But my name is Kyle Adams, Director of Sales here, and at Proposal Helper and BitExecs, we provide, for those of you that don't know, we provide complete BD and proposal solutions to government contractors. So it's a true solution for the complete proposal lifecycle, from lead identification through submission. And so if you have further questions today, leads to more questions, just want further clarification on anything that was talked about here, or to talk about our capabilities a little bit further, please let us schedule a quick call to discuss your capabilities, but ultimately your needs. We want to know what your needs are. And Kyle at proposalhelper.com, 571-525-4737 is the direct line. Proposalhelper.com, bitexecs.com. But we do this on a monthly basis. We try to bring in, educational content, resources to you, the contractor. And if you have any further questions, we do this on a monthly basis. Stay tuned for the next one. But if you have questions, please reach out. We'll be glad to answer those questions, give you further clarification, and point you in the right direction. But thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Kyle. That is greatly appreciated. I'm looking to see if there's any other questions from our attendees. And again, I want to emphasize, we greatly appreciate you all joining us today for today's educational and learning webinar about doing business with the United States Marine Corps. Again, I'm just going to continue to monitor the Q&A for another minute or so. We also try to keep these here as condensed within that time allotment in which we schedule these for. So again, we do have some time I see I've got a question here. Okay, actually, it was a thank you. So again, thank you all for joining us today. Chris, I'm so honored, and Semper Fi, greatly appreciate all that you do and continue to do to serve our country. And let's make it a point that we're going to be doing some follow-up and some debriefing. And again, thank you all for joining us today for our webinar. And we will be sending out, as far as the information that we shared today via your contact information from the registration. So thank you all again, and have a great day.